We start our story in the state of Georgia, where peaches grow abundantly and the subtropical climate is home to some of the most biodiversity in the United States. Near the southern point of the state is the small city of Pearson in Atkinson County. With a population just over 8,000 people and a poverty rate twice the national average, the chance of finding the future best player in the NFL is the same as finding a needle in a haystack. Tyreek Hill was born on March 1st, 1994, and he was raised mostly by his mother and his grandparents. His upbringing reflected a lot of what the Deep South is stereotyped for: poverty, a lack of resources, and therefore, the need to work harder than most people. Despite these hardships, Hill's athletic talents became evident early on. By the age of 3, his grandmother could no longer catch him when playing in the yard, and by the age of 5, he was pretty much untouchable in flag football. He started his education career at Pearson Elementary School in Pearson, Georgia, where he got even more involved in sports. By the time Hill was 7, he was playing in a Pop Warner League with 10-year-olds, and despite the 3-year age difference, he was still faster than all of his peers. His grandmother knew almost immediately that she had a special boy on her hands, and with high school rapidly approaching, she had to put him in the best position possible to succeed. There was a crucial decision to make by the time Tyreek hit his freshman year of high school. Does he stay in his small town of Pearson and risk being overlooked, or does he expand his horizons to attend a high school with better athletics? A cheetah has to act fast when it's chasing its goals, and thus, Tyreek's grandmother decided to relocate the family 20 minutes up the road to the city of Douglas. With a population of just over 11,000 people, Douglas wasn't much bigger than Pearson, but the opportunity to attend nearby Coffee High School was well worth the move. Tyreek Hill began his high school career in 2008 at Coffee High School in Douglas, Georgia. With an enrollment of 1,300 students, Coffee is a medium-sized public school that takes students from the Douglas micropolitan area that covers Atkinson and Coffee counties. This area is home to some 50,000 people, a bustling tobacco market, and natural wonders like the Broxton Rocks. For many Americans, it's rural, it's the dirty South, and it's one of the last places you'd expect to find the next superstar. Hill was an anomaly the minute he walked in the doors at Coffee High School. Coaches didn't know how to process a 14-year-old having the athletic ability of an Olympic athlete, but as it turned out, they didn't need to process anything. The cheetah was already on the move, and he was too fast to catch. Sometime during his sophomore year of high school, Tyreek Hill returned home to his grandma with exciting news. "I'm on the track team," he said. "I'm fast." This might have been the first time that Hill himself realized how special he was, but this was only the beginning. Now a 3-sport varsity athlete as a sophomore, he was starting to turn heads both county and statewide. However, with only 2 years of high school eligibility left, time was running out, and his big break needed to come soon. In American high school, your junior season is arguably the most important if you want to play at the next level. This is the year to show out, to stat pad, and start making a name for yourself to scouts and coaches who are lurking in the shadows. Tyreek Hill understood this assignment, and he went on to dominate every sport he participated in during his junior year. Hill's football coach, Ken Eldridge, saw the tide shift in the fall of 2011 when coaches and scouts from nearby colleges started to show up in droves. Coffee High School had always been known for above-average athletics, but they'd never had a student showcase world-class speed. The scouts would keep showing up, and needless to say, Tyreek Hill did not disappoint. There was no time to rest for Tyreek Hill after a successful junior football season. He now had basketball to look forward to, and after that, he'd take to the track for his first full season as a sprinter. A young man who everyone thought was fast was about to get even faster. May 26, 2012. Tyreek Hill arrives at the 36th annual Golden South Classic in Orlando, Florida. The best high school track and field athletes from around the country are all in attendance, but most of them are completely unaware they're about to witness history. Hill starts with the 100-meter dash and stuns the crowd with a time of 10.19 seconds, a new season best, and tied for the record for the fastest time run by a junior athlete that year. Shortly after, he proceeds to run the 200-meter dash, recording a personal best time of 20.14 seconds. Hill's 200-meter dash time was the fastest time recorded by a junior athlete that year, and remains the second fastest high school 200-meter dash time ever. This was also his 4th race that day. To put these times into perspective, Tyreek's time of 20.14 seconds would have made him the fastest collegiate athlete in that same year of 2012. It also would have won him 6th place at the 2012 London Olympics if he would have competed. By all standards, this was world-class speed, and he was just getting started. Fast forward to senior year, Hill finishes his final varsity football season with no offers from top colleges. Although disappointed, he kept his head up. He still had work to finish, and despite not being noticed enough on the gridiron, he still had a chance to break through. The track was his last hope, and another standout season could turn enough heads to make his dream come true. Sure enough, that standout season did come. He'd go on to win the state championship in the 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash, and long jump, solidifying him as a world-class sprinter right before his graduation date. A feeling of reluctancy filled the air in the late spring of 2013. Tyreek Hill had graduated high school, but he had no offers to play football, and his grades were bad enough to make a lot of college coaches look the other way. He initially wanted to take a year off to focus and work on himself, but Virginia Hill, Tyreek's grandmother, knew that was a terrible idea. Down here in the country, when a child takes a year off, eventually they're going to want to stay off, she said. That's just the way it works usually. Little did Tyreek know, his grandmother and Garden City football coach Matt Miller were conspiring in the background. The cheetah couldn't sit around at home because the cheetah would slow down, and sure enough, they were right. Pack your bags, his grandmother said. You're fixing to go to Kansas, and the rest was history.
In Georgia, I was beating them boys by 30
Tyreek
meters.
was an enigma by the time he was a sophomore at Garden City Community College. He adopted the position of an all-purpose back, hauling in 32 receptions for 532 yards, while adding 659 yards and 5 touchdowns rushing. Now in somewhat of a unique position, he was a 5-star junior college recruit with 2 years of eligibility left, and the Power 5 offers were starting to roll in. Schools like Alabama, Florida State, USC, and Oklahoma were all interested in Hill, but his final decision was one that ended up taking a lot of people by surprise. Despite now being known as one of the flashiest, most explosive playmakers of all time, Tyreek Hill was a reserved young man, and he wasn't necessarily set on playing for the biggest crowd or for the school with the most national championships. His grandmother and high school coach wanted to leave the recruitment process completely up to him, but they always stressed he should go where he feels the most comfortable. Tyreek chose Oklahoma State University, but it wasn't necessarily the football program that won him over. In fact, his decision might have been influenced by one man, a sprint coach by the name of Diego Flacker. Oklahoma State hired Flacker from Auburn after they completed their $10 million track and field facility in 2013. Together, head football coach Mike Gundy and Flacker knew they had to take advantage, and there was no better time to do so with Tyreek Hill on the open market. Hill was originally interested in 2 Pac-12 teams. The first one he dropped because the track coach never called him, and the second seemed to be gaining steam. At the same time, Florida State had already offered to sign Hill as a 2-sport athlete, so things were starting to heat up. Sure enough, the efforts of Gundy and Flacker paid off. Hill enrolled at Oklahoma State in January, and he instantly started making an impact. He was the Big 12 200-meter champion and set Oklahoma State records for both the 200-meter and 60-meter dash. Soon after, in his first D1 football season, he scored 6 touchdowns in 12 games and amassed 1,911 all-purpose yards, which was good for 11th in the nation. But his meteoric rise was about to come to a screeching halt. On December 11, 2014, Tyreek Hill was dismissed from the football and track teams following his arrest for domestic violence. The allegations were shocking: strangulation of his ex-fiancée Crystal Espinal, which resulted in him being charged and serving 3 years of probation. Everything he had worked so hard for had seemingly disappeared overnight. Tyreek needed 1 more year of college experience if he wanted to even think about making it to the NFL. Not many coaches wanted to take a chance on him due to his track record, but in the fall of 2015, a small Division II school right past the Alabama border decided to bite the bullet. Hill enrolled at the University of West Alabama on September 1, 2015, granting him a second chance and the opportunity to play the second year he needed in order to enter the NFL draft. West Alabama again decided to deploy Hill as an all-purpose back, where he racked up 6 total touchdowns and a little over 1,300 all-purpose yards. Unfortunately, this version of Tyreek Hill wasn't the same version we saw at Oklahoma State, and it was against Division II level competition. Tyreek was not invited to the NFL Combine, and he was largely expected to go undrafted. Despite falling off the radar, Hill was given the opportunity to showcase his skills at West Alabama's Pro Day. At 5 feet 8 inches tall and 185 pounds, he didn't have the size of your average wide receiver, but his 4.29 40-yard dash and 40.5-inch vertical were enough to show scouts he was an athletic phenom. By the end of the day, upwards of 20 NFL teams were interested in Tyreek because of his speed. The tide had once again shifted in his favor. With the 165th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs selected Tyreek Hill in the 5th round of the 2016 NFL Draft. He was the first West Alabama player to be drafted since Ken Hutcherson in 1974, and the pick itself was met with a lot of media criticism. Tyreek had to prove himself, and he made a good start by catching a 9-yard touchdown from Alex Smith for his first career reception. From this point on, he seemingly got better. He got faster. He got more explosive. By the end of his rookie season, Hill had tallied 860 total yards and 9 touchdowns on offense. But most impressive of all, he was named a first-team All-Pro punt returner. In just over a dozen games, he earned enough respect to be named the 36th best player in the NFL, and by the time the season had come to a close, he had officially been coined the Cheetah. After a stunning all-purpose campaign in his rookie year, Hill followed it up by becoming a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time in 2017. He once again made the Pro Bowl, and he was finally starting to solidify himself as a top threat at the wide receiver position. By 2019, Hill had earned All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors as a punt returner and as a receiver. The Chiefs, now with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, seemed on the verge of a breakthrough, and a Super Bowl ring was the only thing missing to put Tyreek Hill on track for a Hall of Fame career. February 2nd, 2020. Right before a mysterious virus shuts down the world for the next 2 years, the Chiefs played the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 54. It was all tied up going into halftime, but after Kansas City scored 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, they had finally won it for the first time since 1970. Mahomes got his first ring, Travis Kelce got his first ring, and Tyreek Hill also got his first ring. Hill and the Chiefs made it back to the Super Bowl in the following season, but they'd go on to lose to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Despite the dynasty that was to come, the ring from 2019 was the only one Tyreek won with the Chiefs, and after 2 more Pro Bowl seasons, it was time for the Cheetah to find a new home. Miami, Florida, a city known for its fast-paced nightlife, turquoise waters, and white sand beaches. With low state taxes and warm weather year-round, the Magic City seemed like the perfect place for the Cheetah to settle. March 23, 2022, the Miami Dolphins signed Tyreek Hill to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with $72 million guaranteed. This extension made him the highest paid receiver in NFL history at the time, and by this time, he was starting to harvest the fruits of his labor. Hill picked up right where he left off in his first year with the Dolphins. He finished the year with 119 receptions for 1,710 yards, which were both career highs at the time, while also being named to his 7th Pro Bowl and 4th All-Pro team. Personal accolades aside, he also helped the Dolphins make their first playoff appearance since 2016. By the end of the 2022 season, it was evident that Tyreek Hill was getting better as a player each year. He went from being voted the 36th best player in his rookie year to now being the 7th best player just 5 years later. Ironically, however, his best was yet to come. Maybe it took a year of warming up in the Miami sun for the Cheetah to really get moving. Hill had an electrifying year in 2023. He had reached 1,000 receiving yards by week 8 of the season, and he was on pace to break the single-season receiving record with ease. By week 17, he officially hit 10,000 career receiving yards, and by the time the season ended a few weeks later, he had put together his best stat profile. With 119 receptions for a franchise record 1,799 yards, Tyreek Hill by far had his best season in 2023. For the first time in his career, he was the NFL's receiving leader, and he was also tied for the most touchdowns. He once again got named an All-Pro, got selected to the Pro Bowl, and helped Miami make the playoffs. Around the same time, Hill was named the #1 best player in the NFL by fellow players. There was no denying it anymore. he had reached the pinnacle of professional football. Tyreek Hill went on to play a third season with the Dolphins in 2024, but his season got off to a shaky start due to baby mama drama and legal troubles he found himself in. On September 8th, 2024, right before his season debut, Tyreek was arrested by the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Department for a minor traffic violation near Hard Rock Stadium. The incident immediately went viral and created a lot of newfound speculation regarding Hill's character. In the end, everything was resolved, but this was just one piece of the puzzle that impacted his year. Reports were coming out left and right about his relationship issues, but this time it was with multiple women. He already had 3 children from his ex-fiancée, but allegedly Tyreek Hill was a busy man last year, and he fathered 4 more children in 2024 alone. As we know, Hill currently has 7 children with 4 different women, but he's committed to being a present father, and that's truly all that matters in the long run. He married to his now wife, Cheetah Vaccaro, in November of 2023, and they've been happily together ever since. Most recently, at the end of the 2024 season, Tyreek Hill expressed his interest to leave the Miami Dolphins. He quoted that he's opening the door, and that although he loved playing in Miami, he needs to be somewhere where his competitive nature will be acknowledged. Hill has not explicitly requested a trade, and all this could potentially be avoided if the Dolphins have a plan and a large lump sum of cash to put on the table. As of now, the future is uncertain, just like the future is uncertain for the cheetah who spends its days in the savannas of Africa, waiting to strike on any unsuspecting prey. We wish you the best, Tyreek, and I hope you all enjoyed the Cheetah Chronicles.